Bonjour everyone! As we are waiting for the start of Volume 9 of RWBY, and with Volume 9 promising to be a very different type of volume in terms of story, I felt it was a good moment to take a look at our main protagonists, their evolutions since the start of the show, and what the future might hold for them, with also some predictions and personal want for these characters. And who better to start with these character studies than with Miss Ruby Rose, a character that changed so much since the start of RWBY, but also in some ways very little. As we are waiting for RWBY to do the best work they can, and because we all know that RWBY Volume 9 has been slowed down because they had to make sure Yang's abs and biceps were pristine, let's take a look at as always, we have to start by asking ourselves who is Ruby Rose as a character. And I think that everything we ever needed to know about her as a person was explained to us in these clips.
I'm trying to become a huntress because I want to help people. And my parents always taught us to help others, so I thought, I might as well make a career out of it. I mean, the police are alright, but husband and huntresses are just so much more romantic and exciting and cool. You know? Someone who fought for what was right and who protected people who couldn't protect themselves.
That's very ambitious for a child. Unfortunately, the real world isn't the same as a fairy tale.
Well, that's why we're here. To make it better. Everyone at Beacon is gonna think you're the bee's knees. Okay, I don't want to be the bee's knees, okay? I don't want to be any kind of knees. I just want to be a normal girl with normal knees.
I'm not like Ruby. She's always wanted to be a huntress. It's like she said, ever since she was a kid, she dreamt about being the heroes in the books, helping people and saving the day, and never asking for anything else in return. Even when she couldn't fight, she knew that's what she wanted to do.
Ruby is a character that always had an optimistic look on life, someone who always wanted to be a hero like the ones in the books her sister used to read to her, and maybe unconsciously like her mother, Summer Rose, and someone who doesn't want to be treated as anything special by others. That was Ruby at the start of the show, and looking at Ruby at the end of Volume 8, well, on the surface, it is still the same character.
And that's how you become the Grim Reaper. So, how do I laser beam monsters with my eyeballs?
First, you stop thinking like that. Surrender for your crimes and accept your punishment.
No! We're going to Atlas! Bigger people than you have tried to stop us and failed. But we're supposed to be on the same side. We're supposed to use our power to protect people. Huh? Hey, stop it.
You petrified a leviathan after diving down the barrel of a cannon.
Don't act like you all haven't done crazy stuff before. I mean, Oscar made a successful crash landing. He's a 14-year-old farmhand.
You'll notice that I said on the surface. Because yes, if you only look at Ruby on the surface level, she's more or less on the exact same page as she was at the start of the show, contrasting heavily with Weiss, Blake and Yang, and even Joan, who by this point have undergone a lot of change in their lives and had character arcs centered around themselves. And yet, while Ruby didn't add a character arc around herself like the others, if you look more closely, you'll start to notice that a lot of subtle things have changed about RWBY, most notably on what it means to be a hero like in the books. At the end of the day, Ruby Rose is still someone who wishes to do
The right thing means making tough decisions.
You're right. And I think the right thing to do would be to stand our ground.
Me too.
Me too.
Me too.
and, in contrast to someone like Ironwood, is ready to make the hard choices, the ones with no easy way out where thousands of people are left to die, and she is ready to put her money where her mouth is. And yet, volume by volume, you can see some cracks forming on Ruby's hero shell.
Pyrrha, Penny, I know they would have kept fighting too, no matter how dangerous it was. So that's what I choose to do. To keep moving forward.
Moving forward because that's what others would have done in her stead. To answer my question at the start of that video, who is Ruby Rose, the simple answer is that she's someone who always wants to move forward, to carry on no matter the difficulties, onwards and upwards. Or, as said in one of my favorite movies,
Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is gonna hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
as for the why she's always moving forward and putting so much pressure into herself, we can start to find an answer in volume 1 when she talks with Jean about being a leader.
Jean, maybe you were a failure when you were a kid. You might have even been a failure the first day we met. But you can't be one now. You know why?
Because...
Because it's not just about you anymore. You've got a team now, Jean. We both do. And if we fail, then we'll just be bringing them down with us. We have to put our teammates first and ourselves second.
Ruby moves forward because she can't be a failure for others. For Pyrrha, for Penny, for her teammates, for her friends, and for all of the people who helped her on the way. Her uncle, her dad, and her mom. For Ruby, failing, giving up, not moving forward is akin of failing them all. And you know, always moving forward and always staying up in the face of adversity is a very good thing to do up until a certain point. Because by always moving, you never take the time to digest everything that has happened to you. You never let yourself have the time to grieve. You never have time to just breathe a little, calm yourself, and deal with everything until the moment you are able to take that first step forward again. Being able to always move forward and towards something else is great, but if you never take the time to stop yourself and deal with what you are feeling, things are only going to pile up little by little until one day you lose control of all of these internalized things and you just break. Weiss had the time in the Schnee Mansion between volume 3 and volume 4 to deal with the loss of Beacon, the fact that it was probable she wouldn't see the rest of Team RWBY anymore, that she didn't know if Young was going to be okay, and she had to deal with her father and her brother stripping away her title as the heir of the Schnee Dust Company. Still, after all of these trials, she found the will to carry on, mastering summoning and fight the will of her father. Blake, at the time in Menagerie in Volume 4 and Volume 5, to deal with her guilt, to accept that she couldn't control what could happen to the people around her, she had to understand that she could carry her burdens with them and not only by herself, and she found the will to carry on, taking back the White Fang and confronting Adam. Young at the time in Patch in Volume 4 to deal with what was her new normal, the loss of her arm, Blake leaving, Weiss being taken away, and accepting her newfound fear, until she found the will to carry on, traveling an entire continent alone to find her sister and make sure she was safe, and confronting her mother after years of looking for her, and ultimately reuniting with Team RWBY and with Blake. RWBY on the other hand? Well, RWBY never stopped moving forward since the end of Volume 3. Beacon had fallen and RWBY was already on the road to Mistral with Team Ranger. In Mistral, her shell cracked a little while talking with Oscar, but then it was time to be betrayed by Lionheart.
Work with us. At least I know we'll have a better chance if we try together. Please.
You sound just like your mother.
Then it was going towards Argus, learning how to use her silver eyes, fighting Cordovin, saving Argus. Then it was training in Atlas Academy. Then it was fighting Ironwood and trying to save Mantle. And finally, the realization of what was Salem doing with Silver Eyes Warriors. And, you know, just the fate of the entire world on her shoulders. Hell, just to take an example, RWBY never wanted to be someone special, and yet she found out she had these special powers, her Silver Eyes, that are invaluable against Dream, and who have also probably some links towards the God of Light powers, adding to her pressure that if only she could just master the power of the Silver Eyes, she could save more people.
I was the protector of Mantle. But now, I am much more than that. And I wish I was not.
She never stopped to deal with any of this. And you can see the effects of not dealing with anything that was troubling her on that scene.
All of this doubt and worry and distrust, it isn't getting us anywhere.
Then nothing has changed! We're in the exact same place we were yesterday! Arguing over what to do while the kingdom waits to die.
But no optimism means we've already lost. We need hope. We need to take risks.
But mine didn't work.
I think it's the scene where RWBY was about to give up because everything she had internalized since the end of Volume 3 was hitting her like a goddamn truck in the face. And yet, she managed to keep it under control at the last minute because there was a faint possibility of a happy ending for everyone. Penny saved, Atlas and Mantle saved, Ironwood dealt with, the relics secured, and the people of Remnant warned about Salem. So, how did that end up? With the fall of Atlas come one question. What does the future hold for Ruby Rose? Well, in my opinion, the end of Volume 8, accompanied by the fact that Team RWBY find themselves lost in a strange environment, will give them something akin to downtime, or at the very least some time to regroup, think, and catch their breath. With that downtime, I believe this is the volume where RWBY will finally snap, losing all of her control on herself and being washed away by a wave of guilt, grief, and maybe even a little bit of despair. For all of her will to move forward since the fall of Beacon, she failed. Cinder has 2 relics, Atlas has fallen, Penny has died. All of this is not like with Beacon, where she was only reacting to things that were done in the shadows without her knowing it. Here, all of that was on her watch and knowing it was coming. Now the question is how it's going to translate itself in the show. I don't think RWBY will be a broken shell not wanting to do anything, but I think she's going to act in a way that's going to remind us of another character a few volumes back.
I'm gonna make you pay for what you did! Do you hear me?
Kid,
Well, say something!
Who are you again?
Scared, angry, and throwing herself at things because
We have to put our teammates first and ourselves second.
she has to move forward, doesn't she? I can even imagine a scenario where she goads Neo into attacking her, in a way saying let's be done with this, and saying to herself that at least it's not as bad as what Salem wants to do to her. We got our beach episode, but at what cost? More seriously, my prediction for Volume 9 is that we are going to deal with a RWBY angry and reckless for the start of the volume until something happens. Probably the revelation that Penny died again, and I think it's just going to break her. And for once, she won't be able to just move forward towards something else. She will have to deal with things one way or the other. On the bright side, she's not alone. Because while that speech in Volume 1 about being there for her team is true enough, the reverse is true too. Her teammates, her friends, her family are all there for her too. Being a team is not having all of the responsibilities and pressures on the shoulders of the leader of that team, but it is a shared burden, and I think RWBY has to realize that. And I hope that with the help of the people around her that have all gone through many trials until they found their own will to always move forward and to take control of their fears and act in spite of it, I think ultimately RWBY is going to get through this. And little by little, she'll take a step forward again, still wanting to make the world a better place. And maybe, who knows, even saving it from Salem. With all that said, I think we are going to see how correct I was in a few months. Of course, I hope RWBY take all the time in the world to make Volume 9 the best volume they can, and I really hope to see RWBY being pushed to her limit, even if it's going to hurt us. That being said, as always, if you enjoy the video, don't forget to leave a like on the video. I think I'm going to do one of these videos for each of the characters that are actually on the island. So today I started with RWBY, next is going to be Weiss, then Blake, then Young, Jaune, and maybe even Neo. So as always, if you like the video, don't forget to leave a like. Maybe you can also leave a comment on the video. Are you agreeing with me on Ruby Rose and why she's still moving forward? Do you think volume 9 is going to be the volume where we see Ruby Rose snapping and being fed up with everything that has happened to her since volume 1? As always, I hope I see you around for the next video. Don't forget to be kind with each other. This is only opinions on my part, and I'll see you around.
Do I get to go undercover? Maybe.